Hey everybody, this is Cinnamon Cooney. I forgot to put my picture up front. This is Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and today I'm going to be showing you how to paint the Forgotten Woods. This is a live stream, as that weird little bobble just demonstrated. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hi, guys.
He is going to be laughing at me when I do goofs like that, tracking me on one of our 4 cameras, and reading your comments so that we know how you guys are doing at home. Because the goal for this is you guys to be able to paint this. Now, a lot of you ask me, how difficult is this painting? And what I would say is for this painting, it would be good if you understood, and you didn't have to be perfect at, but things like dry brushing, basic paint terms. If you just don't know anything about paint, definitely watch this because you can be doing this quicker than you think. And check out our One Hoop playlist for total absolute beginners. I mean, this is like if you haven't painted since grade school, beginner is where our channel starts at. This is like if you've done a few paintings, but you do need to know how each step is constructed. And we call that about a 2 hoot. Unless you hate trees, and then you have my full permission to raise this to a 3 hoot. If trees are like, trees, but if you're like, yeah, trees, then it's 2. Other thing, all of the weekend broadcasts and all of our streaming is this month to raise awareness for the Play Live project, which is for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. If you check the description below, you can find links to the traceable, because I certainly don't expect anybody to draw when they're learning how to paint, though I hope you do take it up. It's a cool skill. There is more information, the materials, the brush list, all the colors you need, and a link to St. Jude, where we're trying to raise $10,000 as a part of the DERP squad to help the men and women of this incredible organization end childhood illness. And not just for the people at their hospital, because they do release these treatments for free to the world. It is St. Jude's mission to not just end it here in the U.S., but globally. And they're just one of my very, very favorite charities in the universe. So I'm so happy to be helping them. All right, let's paint these magic Forgotten Woods.
All right.
Sorry, long beginning.
It's a good beginning.
I have an 11 by 14 canvas board. On it, we have some wishes. We Miss M wishes for an end to being bullied at school. And I just have to say, I absolutely wish this for you. And I just want you to know that nobody anywhere deserves to be bullied, picked on, or harassed and made to feel unsafe in places that we should assume are safe, like school or home, or work. So that you don't deserve that, and you don't have to put up with that.
Sorry, I hit the button
There
too
was a
quick.
really cool wish that came in for clean water for the entire world. I thought that was really cool. I would love to see that if we all came together as a species and said clean water is a human right, and we should guarantee that. I love that. Cure for all childhood illnesses. That's the one from St. Jude. And then we've had people asking for cure, treatment, and understanding for both MS, muscular multiple sclerosis, and fibromyalgia, which is very painful. Let's look at our beginning colors.
Absolutely.
And I got to get my reference over here. Wait, nope. Yep, I have everything right. What a weird day. Okay, so in the center here, I have this product. This is Gloss Glazing Liquid. It is slow drying extender for my acrylic colors. The link to that is in the description below. I have titanium white, phthalo green, phthalo blue, Indian yellow. I'm going to mix these two together to make a nice phthalo turquoise. And that's where I'm going to be starting this particular project in. Hey, John.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can. So can everyone else. Watch this, though. I can do this neat thing where I go, mute. That was not as secret as you thought it should be.
It's just hot.
So I'll tell you, I'm going to break the secret because that was not good enough to be a secret. I got to turn the air conditioner on.
Okay.
That's
so
what
this
she
is a diamond head palette knife, and I just mixed one part of the phthalo green and one part of the phthalo blue together. This makes a phthalo turquoise, but you can buy this in the store if you don't have Indian yellow. I really love this color, and it makes a lot of amazing, unique effects, but you could just use the yellow that you have if you can't get this. Don't not paint something because of, being missing a material or not having something that you feel like you might need. Because often it's more about how light or dark something is in a painting than the exact hue, and that's the fancy way we like to say color. They can't see him, but he's crawling around under my feet, and it's super distracting. That's a face. Don't screenshot that face. It's my turtle face. Mmm. Sippy, sippy. All right.
I was clipping something.
So I'm going to take my number 30, or you could use a 26. Just a nice wide brush for acrylic painting. This is a bright, and that means the bristles are shorter, and these are synthetic, so they're going to really hold up to my paint well. I'm going to drag off my water so my brush isn't too soaked, and I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to dip a little bit more in, and what I'm doing here is called loading my brush, right? I'm going to load my brush. I'm going to get a little of my glazing medium in here. And I'm going to do an interesting thing. I'm going to moisten my canvas because my conditions are very dry, as why John had to put on the air conditioner. Sometimes when you're painting with acrylic, it's so dry, it can make it challenging to get the effects that you want. I don't want to make my canvas particularly wet. I'm going to just brush these outer edges with this darker color. See how I've done?
Yep.
And if I had not misted and gotten that just a little tiny teensy bit damp, my paint would have gotten squeech. And I just wanted it to be on the canvas more flowy. So I've offloaded most of the pigment, as you can see from my brush, and I'm going to grab my white and just load that up, get my glazing medium in there. A little more pigment if I need it. And see, it's already dry.
Well,
it's very hot here today.
And the air conditioner's on.
Yeah, so we're taking all the moisture out of the air. I'm making the center of my canvas lighter, okay, is what I'm going to do. So I want the center of my canvas to be lighter and the outer edges to be darker. Once I get that first just thin coat of paint on my canvas, I can come back and really make a lot of adjustments. But sometimes in really hot, dry conditions, hot being hard on the artist, dry being hard on the paint, it can be hard for the paint and myself to work together as a team to get things done. Now I'm going to take a towel and kind of squeeze out the paint from my canvas, but I'm not going to totally like remove the pigment. I'm going to get a little water on my brush, and you can see here like a lot of blue is still like coming out. So even when you squeeze it out on a towel, you haven't really removed that much, have you? And I'm going to load up with my Indian yellow and a little of my glazing medium, a little of my turquoise that I like so much, right? And I'm going to make a kind of very green aqua, right? If you were buying a gemstone, you would say, oh, that's so beautiful. And right here in the center, I'm going to dust in, see, this sort of green aqua color. Is the camera able to see our aqua today?
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of a green aqua.
It's got a green aqua in the center.
Yeah.
I'm going to come in the center again a little more with a little more white. See how light that is now?
Yeah.
I'm building up what will be the lighting effect for my forest.
It looks the same on both cameras, so I think it's the same.
Okay. I'm going to trust you. John is the master of the camera. See, I'm still lightening it and blending it into the center. I don't have to worry about this too much right here because I'm going to have ground, and up here I'm going to have leaves, but it is nice to try to make sure that you've got that center keyhole happening. Even one more load of white. Look at me go. Look at you go. Are you doing this too? Are you loading a little white onto your brush and coming in the center? You've got time. You've got time to lighten the center of your forest. Look at that. Isn't that lovely?
I like it.
So that gives us a really dramatic effect. Now we're going to build it up. We're going to make it even more dramatic, but that is the foundation of the magic portal that's happening in our forest. Whenever I'm painting these magic spaces, I will be doing some sort of dramatic lighting like this. Now I'm going to rinse out my paint, right? And I'm going to come back and get my second coat of my phthalo turquoise loaded up. Let's get some water on the brush. Not soaked, right? If you had a very soft brush, it could hold too much water and you'd have like a little ocean color here. It'd be like so oceany. I'll grab a little of my aqua onto the brush to lighten it. But this outer edge here, I'd like to be darker. Right? It can lighten as it comes in. And see how I get it to lighten is I've lightened my brush pressure, right? And now I'm blending back. So it's dark, but it's not like, oh no, I will never, ever, ever, ever be able to do anything. Get a little more on there. I like to grab glazing medium just to make sure that my paint isn't just drying on my brush here. You may not have these issues in your studio, in your painting space, in your kitchen, in your garage, on your nice front porch, wherever you are painting. And there's lots of places that we can paint, aren't there? Getting a nice, see how we got that nice little lighting effect happening now?
Yeah.
So I'm going to get a little more of my glazing medium. And I'm going to come here and sort of work these two spaces against each other. And I'll go ahead and add another layer of pigment down here. Just for depth. And come up this side. Now, right here, I'm going to kind of softly blend this up. See how I'm taking the brush and I'm just doing this nice little flick up? Flick, 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 flick. How are we moving?
It looks like you're really cool. I like it.
So again, a little glazing medium and some of that color I had left over. You can get a little white in there if you need it. Just to blend these two spots together just a bit. If you're not getting a blend, guys, what's happening is your paint's drying before you've had a chance to. And you'll notice that I'm kind of like brushing very softly, almost with an implied inward stroke. Look at this. Bloom and curve in and boom and curve in. I'm going to come on this side and I'm going to go boom, curve in, curve in, curve in, curve in, curve it in, curve it in. Just implying that sort of little keyhole space that we have here. So I've got this very striking light in the center and glow coming from the back, but I'm going to build my whole mystical forest off of this. If you have, see here how my lines are soft? Right? If you were to have like hard edges, you're having a blending issue. And acrylic paint blends wet into wet, but both sides have to still be wet. If one side has dried, you'll have to come back either with a glaze and make a glaze to blend it. You could dry brush it, which will like make little dry marks, or you can go back and repaint the area and re-seam them together. That would be the only, well, for me, the only frustrating thing sometimes about acrylic paint is that it dries very quickly. Now I'm going to get a little more of my Indian yellow on here. And a little more of my white and a lot of glaze. I'm going to just work this right here. Too much Indian yellow. If you have too much color, I like to wipe off my brush. I'll get a little more white. There we go. And then I just blend that again. See? And now I'm coming back, look. See how I'm coming back the opposite way with this light color?
Yeah.
Now here, this is sort of dry, so it's dry brushing over it, but we're still getting that soft edge, and we're looking for that. We're looking for that soft edge. I've gotten very big and expressive on my palette. What that means is when I've been mixing paint, it's been encroaching into different areas instead of being neat and tidy. Here we go, here we go, here we go. There we are. Nice. And woody. And I'm just, again, you can see me doing the stroke, just pulling it out. Now that gives me a lot, believe it or not, to work with. So I'm going to rinse this brush out and put this to the side, because I certainly don't want to leave it in water. And then I'm going to put my next run of colors out. So I'm going to put my phthalo blue back out, even though I have my phthalo turquoise mixed. Because for the next layer, I'm going to need a little of that. And I'll go ahead and put out a little of my phthalo green, maybe on this side, making room on all these little spots, like you do. I'm going to have a sip of my coffee and let you guys think about your backgrounds. Are we doing okay on our backgrounds?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay.
This has been really exciting. So I've, I have some, I have some jokes that I need to get caught up on over here. You know that.
Yes, I do. While I am gathering my thoughts for the next thing, why don't you?
Can I tell why I got to tell some
You
jokes?
got to tell why. You tell the whole thing. I'm going to sip my coffee and find my center.
I'm going to give you just a second to tell your son. So what we're doing is we're supporting St. Jude by participating in Play Live this, let's see, this here? Is that right? And so here, look, I'm going to fade over here real quick because look, we've got this little wonderful graphic we put up here where we can say thank you to all of these folks who've come out and to support St. Jude with us. And I'd just like to give everybody a quick update as where we're at right now because this brings us right up to Stephanie. But since then, we've had Carly Joe and Jody and Suzanne and Jasmine and Kitty and Mary and Lily and Anonymous and Julie and Kimberly and Anonymous and Angela and Whitney and Sue and Christine all come in and support us. And especially I would like to say thank you to Christine and Lily who both gave $100 and Mary as well. So thank you guys. That's really, really special gifts. Oh, there's Cinnamon. So thank you guys very much. And just to say, I have a joke.
He has to tell a joke. So at different donation levels, there are incentives that we give you guys, and they are funny and fun. And one of them is Laughing Panda, and that's at the $50 gift level. Don has to tell you personally a joke on air.
I do.
And if it takes us a year to do it, we'll do it.
And this one's for Sherpa Carly Joe.
Hi, Carly.
So, how many artists does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know, John. How many artists does it take to change a light bulb?
Takes 10.
10 artists to change a light bulb.
10.
Okay. One stone hands, 10 artists. I get it.
1 to change it, and 9 to reassure them about how good it looks.
Only if they're Sherpettes, right? In the Sherpette group, 9 Sherpettes will tell you did a good job.
But see, I'm the 11th Sherpette who just wouldn't see it.
Wouldn't see what?
The light.
Oh, okay. You're so funny. Well, I'm going to start in the center here. We are halfway to our first milestone. At our first milestone, when we get to $3,000, John has to paint an ATC on the channel.
Let me go ahead and take a look at that because we're doing really.
We're like halfway there. Over halfway.
I think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's several benchmarks that we'll be showing you throughout the thing. The first one, though, is John painting an ATC. Now, I have here a number 8 silver bright. I'm kind of moving this along because we've got to work the paint at particular stages. So this is a Cambridge. I really like this. It's a mix of bristles and synthetic filaments. I'm going to get a little of the blue on my brush, add a little of my glazing medium to it, and just a titch of my zinc. I find that the zinc will pull the color up just a small amount and really help. Then just smidge in a little of your turquoise that you have because that'll help it blend into the background. And we're going to come over here and we're going to, on the corner of the brush, see I'm just back and forth on the corner of this brush tapping. See how I do that very delicately? And I flip to the brush in my hand and I'm still tapping. Okay. And I'm coming into this yellow space with this little bit of paint, right? I'm saying right like I can hear you from wherever you're watching and wherever you're streaming. But we're together, so there's a thing. So I'm gonna, even though I have a bunch of stuff hanging down here, I'm going to go ahead and move this slightly darker value in this back and forth wiggle motion called scumbling into the center of the painting as I'm offloading the pigment that I have on my brush. And can you see how this is almost like a very distant plant? I'm making sure these edges are uneven and wiggly. That's what you want, is wiggly edges. Let's load up a little more of our blue. Glazing medium so the paint is not drying on my brush while I'm painting with it today. A little zinc because it brings it out. And you can see when you take the turquoise out of it, then it stands out just a little more in the background, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's a slightly different color without this addition of the turquoise. And I'll just keep working that here. I'm going to get a little more blue. Like you do.
Like you do.
Like I do. And I'm going to add just another little layer of this tree coming forward. And this is just, look, I pull and I'm moving and I edge of my brush, making these leafy implied shapes. They're not like each one an individual leaf. They're little leaf-like marks.
It's the implication of the leaf.
I have implied that there is leaf. Now I'm going to get my darker phthalo, the turquoise that I mixed earlier. Add some of my blue to it as I'm moving back. And up here in this corner, I can just make these very loose and open brush strokes. So it's like, look, I'm just brushing back and forth. Sometimes I'm just the tip of the bristles. Sometimes I'll push wide. And what I'm really doing is varying up my brush stroke. So you see my brush moving very quickly, but if you were to watch it slow, this is what you'd be seeing. See how when I do it slower, you can kind of see the motion? And this is the subtle little dance that we as artists can do to imply that things are afoot. And we do want to imply things are afoot. Now I'm going to come down here, and you're going to notice I'm wiggling this brush back and forth a bit. And I'm softening this space. If I need glaze, I'm going to get some glaze right on my brush and work it into the bristles. Work, work, work. And I'm just brushing this in, and I'm just thinking about this forest. When I designed this, I wanted it to feel like that you had walked into an unexpected magical space. Now, as I'm going to come here, I'm going to start to curve the little stroke down. This is going to be where my path is. This is about 5 fingers from the bottom. So that's when I feel like I can start curving that path back and forth. Wiggling up. Wiggling, wiggling. See, corner of the brush, pushing up, wiggling up. Look at how those little bristles make stuff. It's hard not to just overplant my forest sometimes once you realize how fun it is to make the stuff. I'm going to dip my brush a little bit in water, maybe even rinse out. And the reason why every once in a while you'll rinse out while you have a perfect mix is because the paint will start to dry on your brush and the brush won't perform as well. So I'm back into my phthalo blue, working a little glazy medium through it. Let's grab a little zinc to lighten and brighten. A little turquoise to make sure it feels like the distant values are there. And let's soften this side of our forest just a smidge. Don't have to do very much over here. It's a lot less over here. I'm going to definitely, though, take my canopy up and working this back. And I'm just, see how I'm making this edge now seem like trees that are just letting a light shine through them. And I'm going to just push this. See, I'm push, 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 push. Sometimes it's just the little dustings of pigment that makes such a big difference. I get to the bottom and I enforce my back and forth. I'm going to come here and get a little of both of these together. And I'm going to come this side and just add a little of this little grass structure. It's a little grass-like, isn't it? Just flicking up. So I press in. So you're going to flick out. Press and flick. Press, flick, release. And I'll even rock my body back a little bit to enforce that bit of a stroke. I'm going to get into my phthalo blue, phthalo green direct mix. Glaze to improve the flow. And make sure that the forest is mysterious and very deep. Because we need a deep forest, don't we? I mean, I do. I don't know about you, but I really need my forest to be deep for it to feel mysterious.
I just like watching you make this, to be honest.
Love doing these. I'm so excited that everybody is really into these little mystical woods in my group right now. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be making more and more and more and more.
Oh, I'm so excited about these mystical woods.
I'm actually working on these to work on making some that are even, you know, maybe my goal is always to come up with a design that fits for one hoot. You know, maybe not as involved as this clearly, but something that's satisfying for everybody. A little of my blue into my phthalo green. Now I can very expressively back here make some dark blue lines. Can you guys see what I'm doing?
Oh yeah.
So I'm taking my phthalo blue and my phthalo green, and I'm just going to make, these are just implied trees. The only thing you have to remember about them is that they should be getting thinner at the top. Don't be too specific. You've got a big tree you're putting right here. So you're just saying for the few little branches that are open, right? That there's something afoot there. Don't be too specific though, because they're far away, so you wouldn't see them in focus. On our big art quest right now, we're doing kind of a very involved, definitely 3-hoop version of this. And that's just the foundation of that thinking, is like, how do I make things seem far away? I haven't even changed brushes. I'm just trying to make little tree shapes. I'll do it again this side, and maybe if you need me to go in deeper into that explanation of how those tree shapes are made. All right, I'm gonna come over here. I've got my brush loaded up. You'll notice that I did the loading where I went to both sides of the brush. It's up into here, so I've got a good paint load. I'm gonna come up, and I'm gonna just, I don't have to put that much in here because again, we have this big tree. I'm just making this slightly darker line. Look, I come down, I wander to the right a little bit, I go down, I might wander to the left. I'll make a little distant implied friend right there to this tree. Just on the tip of my bristles, right into the paint, and it's just barely a shade darker. Maybe I'll make a branch coming up over here. Implied, of course. Not too much, just a little bit where we could say, oh, there's some stuff. Now we have some stuff, right? Not a lot of stuff, but some stuff. Remember, they're thicker down here, and they get thinner as they go up. And these are distant, far away. I'm going to wipe off my brush, rinse it out, wipe it off with a towel, because if you're doing a bristle filament combo like what I have here, which is, this is one of my favorite lines of brushes, you got to pull the water out because bristles really pull in water. I'm going to get a little of my green now into my Sailor Turquoise mix. Look at me go, and then I'm going to get some zinc. Grab a little of your Indian yellow because it's going to be close to the light. Ah, there we go. Little bit, little bit, little bit. Because we're close to the light. And I'm getting little bits. Let's come here and imply that another little springy fellow is springing up, right? A little bit greener. Shows up against the background because this little foliage is, you know, warmer and brighter. If you need a little glaze, get your glaze, load that in. If you need a little more turquoise, load that in. Here's my zinc. There we go. Just a little bit warmer. A little different than his friends. See how he is? And I'm wiggling the brush, making these little strange little tree shapes. You can always add a little foliage that's just peeking here and there because forests are layered foliage, if nothing else. I think it's also nice to take a little bit of this at the top to layer this. You don't even have to be that specific up here because we're going to pull down this foliage. We're going to be layering paint so that when we get to the top, I'm grabbing some just turquoise. It's a very rich space to drop that foliage down. Notice I'm like a 1/2 inch though. Don't go down the canvas real far. So you've added a little bush, you've darkened the top, we're in the greens now. Let's get a little more green on our brush, a little glazy medium, because it is literally drying on my brush, John. It's a dry on my brush day. So I grab my phthalo turquoise, my phthalo green, and a little zinc white, and there's a smidge of the Indian yellow in there.
Now, Nell was asking, would the depth of the painting be less if the lighter trees weren't painted in?
Yes, just a little bit. If you know, look, here's what. If you're not up for lighter trees, is my 2 cents on this. If you're not up for the lighter trees, I did not send home a report to anybody that you know, as long as they don't watch the show. Your feet are not going to be held to the fire of my lighter trees. I think they're a good idea if you can execute them, though, to help enforce the depth that you're trying to create, you know, in your paintings. See, I'm just pulling a bush down because we want to let some of that grass and some of that stuff show through far away. We're building it up. But yeah, the having these, if you guys will homework from this painting as if you need it, if you guys will go online and search Magic Forest, Misty Forest, any of those searches, I'm just phthalo turquoise, phthalo green, a little zinc white here. If you search any of that, you're going to really observe it, and I want you to see how the trees look when they're far away in a misty forest, in a magical forest.
Right.
And you're going to see a very similar effect of you can see this sort of smoky, distant, hazy tree shapes. And that's a big part of how we imply that there's mist somewhere or something is happening. I'm building up a little bit of a little bush here, so I'm going to take him there. But I want to leave some of the light foliage that I created right there. So look at me, I'm just scrubbing this into the canvas, aren't I? Getting all that pigment off.
Nope. Sherry
that pigment off.
Sherry was asking a really interesting question. And I've seen this come up a couple times, so I was wanted to run it past you here.
Okay, I'm gonna sip my coffee anyways, rinse my brush, and think about my next space. While I also missed my canvas, not my canvas, my palette, so everything doesn't dry on it.
Huh.
Hi.
So Sherry was saying she has shaky hands, and she needs to steady her. Do you have any suggestions on how she can steady her hands for more control when she's wanting to get more brush control?
Yes. Some people, if you're standing in an easel, a mouth stick is a very good tool for that. That's basically a stick with a ball and that's you can rest on your easel or on dry parts of your canvas and help steady your hand. There are more and more tools, adaptive tools coming into painting. So I've seen several brush grips and arm stabilizers that are just coming on the market. I have not tried them, but I'm incredibly helpful about it. If you're not at a position like you're sitting or you're somewhere you can't use a mouse stick, the other tool you can use is called a bridge, and that goes over your art surface, over your drawing surface, over your painting surface, exactly like a bridge, and allows you to rest your arm or steady your arm in some way and paint. And remember, wild brushstrokes are just called expressive. So, you'd be like, if anyone says anything, be like, I'm an expressive painter. It's expressionism.
Yeah.
Me and Monet, okay? Me and Monet. Just be like that. Me and Monet. If it all else fails, make it a feature.
I think so too.
Yeah, John truly does. So I'm going to get a little more of my Indian yellow onto my brush. And you can see it's a good bit. I've got it all worked in the tip of the bristles. I'm going to get into my phthalo green now. Indian yellow, glaze. Goodness gracious, it needs to come off the brush when it needs to come off the brush. And a little of the zinc white to reveal the color. Maybe even a little more Indian yellow. So I'm trying to talk about little light bits of foliage here. And I'm just touching. See how I'm just touching? Just the edge of my little corner of my bristles. Like it's just a little corner. I'm just connecting in a few places. And where there could be light hitting it, I'm just informing it maybe a little bit more. It's fun for me to do.
No.
I might come even here just for fun and highlight some of that to say, oh, look at you. You are teeny tiny little leaves out there. The leaves, John.
Emily was asking a question, which is a really fundamental difference between acrylic and watercolor.
Oh, yeah, I bet there is.
And she says, have you ever revived dried paint?
Not on an acrylic canvas. In fact, if your dried paint has revived, your paint actually failed. Not in watercolor. That's fantastic. Watercolor should revive. Oil often, until it's really dry, can be revived or at least removed with a solvent. Acrylic paint should, once it's dry, not be removable. And if it is, it means it didn't bind and you've had a paint fail.
Can I explain why?
You may explain why.
Because it cures, not dries.
That's right. Cures, not dries.
It's a chemical reaction.
It's a cure, not a dry.
So when it's done drying, that means the chemical reaction is done and it's bound. It's turned into a solid. So I think that's pretty neat.
I agree with you. I agree that it's pretty neat. I don't need to paint this too far back here because I've got a big tree.
Those are big trees.
No, I'll just take this down because it won't hurt it to have a little of this.
See, that keyhole comes in when you start adding that stroke like that. It just
Yeah.
comes
Starts to happen, doesn't it?
It does.
Scumbly, scumbly, scumbly. And see, even when you scumble here, now that'll just create implied dimension behind your trees, right? That little green. So as I'm moving forward, I'm going to get my burnt sienna out. My burnt sienna. And I might even put out a little of my Prussian. I think I have that in the description. The Prussian is what so phthalo blue. Phthalo blue was actually made to replace Prussian blue, but as you can see, I don't know if you can catch it on that camera.
Yeah.
But they're not the same.
No, they're not.
And the Prussian blue is more of a night, rich color. I prefer it for certain aspects of landscape painting. And I always have a tube of it in my art box. It's just one of my essential colors. Like there's some colors I'm like, I just don't feel right unless I have. And it certainly is one of those. Of course, you could paint with just phthalo blue. Your painting won't explode. It won't burst into flames, running into the street saying it's all your fault. That will never happen. And maybe if it did, you're just the greatest artist who ever lived. So I put out some Prussian blue, some burnt sienna, some quinacridone magenta, and some diox purple. And these are the colors with which I'm going to start to blend my background now. So I'm taking my burnt sienna, as you can see, into this green. It makes quite a dark color. You can even get a little of your zinc into it. And I'm going to start being back here. Oh, maybe a little more. I'm going to wipe off. I want a little more green than I've got it because it's still magical forest. More unicorn than true accounting of woods. And I'm starting to push in some, see these little darky bush shapes? You got to get your dark bush shapes in, darlings. We're going to just work some of this up as I'm coming in. And you can see this wiggling motion that I'm doing. Is wonderful. Now, if you get, you know, just a regular bristle brush, this you can still get away with this. It's just a lot harder because the brush softens as you put water in it, because bristle brushes really were originally thought of for oil painting, and you put your brush in solvents and the oil paint and turpentine and linseed oil, but not in water. Because you would never put your brush in water for your oil painting unless it's a water-soluble oil. So I'm just tapping this around. These kinds of paintings, look at this, wiggle, 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 wiggly, 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 wiggly.
Zoom in on that.
Wiggly, 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 wiggle, 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 wiggle. Just give it a little wiggle. Scumble up that brush. The most resilient brushes to this type of scumble is definitely, this is very resilient brush. And that's everything about it. My brushes that I made for my line are resilient, and these are resilient. So, coming in from my week, right? So we got some layering of our keyhole happening now. We've really brightened it up. You know, it's super fun. One interesting thing, if I come in and I get white, see this white right now? That's a titanium white, and I'm going to go back and add a little of my Indian yellow to this. I get this sort of interesting little, look at this color. It's another layer of my foliage that I really like to have a couple places. Let me take a little branch of that out here. And I'm just letting the wigglies happen here and there in my bush.
You know, wiggle the shrubberies in.
I had to wiggle my strawberries in. I know it sounds kind of not okay, but it is. It's totally what you got to do, man. This is art, man.
Gotta wiggle it just a little bit.
Got to wiggle it just a little bit. Put these little light bits of foliage here and there. It's also fun to make sure that they maybe are catching some light a couple places as they go up. right? Back into my just cadmium. And I might get a little of my alizarin crimson and Dox purple into that. Crazy, I know. We're gonna add some of this back here. So we're just, look at the levels of bush and stuff that we're building up. And I'm gonna actually start to take this across this floor randomly a couple places. It's like magic how it happens. It's like, there, floor.
I'm supposed to be doing so many other things today. I'm just sort of watching you.
Yes, are you?
Yeah, like I'm kind of keeping up with chat because but I've really just been sort of sucked into watching you paint today.
Today I need to paint. And if you guys love this painting, if you love what we do, here, you can help us help St. Jude, and there's a lot of ways to do that. So, the first is the obvious one where we donate, right? There's also just tweeting out, following their social media. Follow St. Jude, follow their social media, tweet out their stories, help your community be aware that they're out there doing this. Know that they're constantly ongoing studies and they take kids from around the world, and maybe somebody whose child would qualify, and if they get in, that's free medical treatment by the world's best doctors and most advanced equipment. And they don't just treat the illness, they make sure that the family is cared for, and they make sure the family gets haircuts. They do prom for the kids. They do as many normalizing things as they can. When you come into St. Jude, you get your doctor, you get your nurse, and you get someone that helps you with your life well-being. And this person makes sure that the things that are important to your family, that the staff at St. Jude are aware of, that the machine that's there, because they know you can't treat illness unless people feel okay, unless they have hope. And there's so much effort putting into making people feel normal and okay at a time when they don't. Yeah. So everywhere you walk in the hospital, as an artist, it was tripping me out how much time and thought was put into design and color, and the way certain scary things are kind of hidden that you see in normal hospitals. They're there, but you just don't see them. So if that's exciting to you, share the show. Mention to your office when they're trying to pick a charity that, hey, St. Jude, they're curing illness for everybody in the world. It's a great, great thing, just like.
And I'd like to say
thank you. And
if
it's a donation, you can make us do goofy things like tell jokes on air, go fishing with you, and wow.
It is because of the love and generosity of our community that we've been able to help raise $2,140 for St. Jude. So thank you guys very, very much.
Thank you.
This is just the beginning. We're going to keep going all month. And beyond that, we're going to keep going all year.
Yeah, John talked like we're going to always, always be Team St. Jude.
Yeah.
For life, as a family. Even my son Spider, he was like, I'm going to do this. Can I do something at my school? They have a program so kids can create awareness at their school on their website. Pretty cool stuff. My son was super impressed. $2,000. Thank you guys so much. Does a lot of good. Okay.
Breathe, Sherpa.
I'm gonna mist my paint and act like I'm not a crazy person.
Just for a moment.
Just for a moment. Just a little bit. Put this down for a second. And I'm going to get this cool little brush. This is a number 4 bright by that same line, that Cambridge. And I'm going to get into my pink here. I'm going to get just a smidge, just the tiniest amount of my Indian yellow and come into my quinacridone. And this just warms it a small amount. Let's get some glazing medium so it doesn't dry out on us. There we go. Now I'm going to go over into my zinc.
Oh, I think your palette may be a bit off. I may have to go over and scoot that over. Hold on a second.
Here, I got it. There we go. I got it in.
You did?
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so I'm getting just a little bit of this quinacridone in my zinc. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to just touch little areas of my little canvas here. See how we're doing?
Yeah.
These are little flowers. They're little forest flowers. Here we go. Here's a little bit that comes out. You know, maybe I get a little more quinacridone on there and come right here. Look at that. This is the kind of stuff, if a forest had unicorns, this is what would be growing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad the AC is on. Man, I don't even need the hair dryer.
You know, I'd also like to just mention, you know, between May 6th and May 12th is Nurses Week in America. So I'd like to just give a big art hugs to all the nurses in America.
Oh!
National awareness for that. So.
Yes! All the nurses.
Big
all the
art hug.
nurses.
We love you guys. Thank you for all your support.
So I just grabbed a little more zinc and I'm lightening some of these flowers. See how they got lightened? And I might come and add some of that lightness here and there. You're just touching, you're just barely kissing the canvas. Just go. Make a little kiss noise.
Little
Paint your
kisses.
little canvas. See these little smudges? They become little bits of flowers, don't they?
Yeah.
Get a little zinc on your brush and a little pink. Get a little zinc, get a little pink. Get a little zinc, get a little pink. Plant a little flower in the bush, bush, bush.
I like them.
I do too. I like to have flowers. And every time I plant my garden, who knows? So the kind of things I think about when I'm deciding where to put my flowers is that I think about where they are in relationship to the light. If they're more in the light, they'll be lighter. And if they're further back, they might be darker, right?
Yeah. I love how this keyhole just comes together.
Oh yeah, it's so magical, so gorgeous. You know, I vacillated about doing this on the channel because it's a, you know, it's a more layered painting. So there's a little more time involved in it, but then I realized everybody likes a little forest. That got a little, if it ever gets just a little bit too wooded, then you can just come back, right, with your brush and a little bit of green, and look at this, you can sort of blend that in.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
It is. It really is.
You know, just a little bit of green.
I'm sort of lost in the painting.
Huh?
I'm just sort of getting lost in it.
You can just come back with your green and just blend that all in, and then all of a sudden that's just a interesting, more dark area that happens, and you don't have to like stress on that. You don't have to worry about that. I'm gonna rinse out. And again, a little of the Indian yellow into this space. Maybe this side is a little lighter over here, and so I'm gonna get my zinc and come make some little flowers over here. Kiss up here. Oh, do 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 do. And it, you know, if you want it to be brighter pink, you just go get the pure quinacridone, and look how that just varies it up. See how my brush is? If you're wondering where all these colors are coming from, there.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they come from.
That's crazy.
That's painting, man. Just being very comfortable with your materials and your brush, right? And loving what you do. Be passionate about what you do. You know, I don't paint to make a living. I paint to make a life. Robert Henry. The artist spirit. Very important artist philosopher. If you've never looked up his stuff, you should. You should. Don't paint to make a living. I paint to make a life. I'm going to drop some of these little guys down here in my path. Make it a little more of the pink color too. You know, for the path. You just don't know how much of these will hit the forest floor, right? You don't know. Could be a lot. Might not be that many. Little zinc, little white. You know, if they're real light, they might come out here. When I have a real light color, I'll tend to bring it into the sunlight. And then, you know, if the color is darker, I might put it back, or I'll put it to the top of a darker color to make a highlight there. Just planting a few little flowers, and I don't want to take out all my green. I just want a very beautifully planted little bunch of shrubberies. So when you have that to a level that you're really excited about and you're like, wow, I love those flowers, that looks magic to me, go ahead and get a little of your quinacridone, just work through your brush. I'm going to get some glazing medium here so it's not just all completely gone. This time I'm going to get my titanium white. So that if you remember, that's a much more opaque white, right? You know, and just go ahead and Touch just a couple spots. Not too much because it's much more hard edge. Just a few bits. Just talk about these flowers. Some. Like right there, see? And if it gets too bright or whatever, you just paint it out. So when you have those flowers and you're all good, then I'm going to get a little of my turquoise again and my white. I'm going to come over here and get this sort of mid color. And I'm going to make sure I come through this path with this sort of turquoise and I just brush back and forth. See how I created that light down the path? Get a little of your green, maybe your zinc this time. My Indian yellow. And I'm going to make sure that there's another little value coming down the path. I don't want to take out my pink. I just want to make sure my path looks like it's got stuff afoot. My path should be darker towards the path and then getting much lighter as it goes through. I'm going to get some white on my titanium white on my brush. And just, this is a very light with this. I worked my pigment through so it wasn't just such a bright white. See what I'm doing? And then I'm blending that here. Missed that, so it's obscured. And brushing back and forth. That's all it takes to get the path in.
That is crazy.
Isn't that fun?
I love it.
I think it's so fun. Sippy sippy. Then I'm going to put some of this distant drop down of these like sort of like far away dripping flowers. I love this keyhole. This is the foundation and will only get faster and better at showing you how. I really love this. Couldn't you just put a unicorn in the middle of this?
Mm-hmm. Would you? You just go ahead and throw that in for me?
Right now?
Yeah. We got time.
You're such a cutie patootie. You have no idea. You have no idea how cute he is. And delusional.
I generally am, yes.
That's my palette.
As you. I thought you were reaching over there to get something out of your palette. So out of my peripheral vision, I'm like trying to auto switch. So I go, shh, 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 shh. You know,
I think it's time for you to read another joke while I have a little coffee break and think about my next step.
Okay, I'm gonna read another joke. Right before I do that, I'm gonna say, I realized it's really important for us to to give all the nurses in our lives a big hug, because at some point all of us come in contact with nurses, and pretty much they're the people who give us the most kindness when we're dealing with our hurts and ouchies.
John is not a good patient, so listen, he needs to give y'all extra love. I bring donuts.
This is in advance.
I come correct.
That's right. This is in advance for all the nurses who are going to come into my life.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, and thank you so much for taking care of my boo-boos and making sure that when I'm whiny and complainy and hurt and ouchy, that you're taking care of those things. I appreciate it. I really, really do.
No matter how he acts in the hospital bed.
Despite how bad I'm acting, because I'm freaking out for whatever's going on, I mean it.
I don't know if you're like this at home, but sometimes some people, nurses all probably already know this, really struggle when they're super injured and are uncomfortable and are freaked out.
Yeah.
So, you know, for all you nurses that put up with those patients, and just for every nurse everywhere, thank you. All around the world. Healers, if you're just a healer in your local area and you just got internet, thank you. All right.
Okay, so I have to tell you.
Oh, you have to do wish. I'm gonna keep drinking coffee.
I'll do the joke for Nina. Okay, this one, because here. So, how many visitors to an art gallery does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know, John. How many visitors does it take?
2. 1 to do it, and 1 to say, my 4-year-old could have done that.
Oh, good times, good times. All right, so I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to dip it in the water, drag it off.
Those of us who have to sell our artwork know what that's like.
And I'm going to kind of load my quinacridone into this brush. See how I'm doing right here? And I'm going to get a little of my purple. And there that is. And a good little swig of my zinc. Because this needs to be a little bit lighter. See, I'm just trying to make sure it's a little bit like that. So here's how the brush looks.
Oh, get up here.
And I'm going to just...
Okay.
I just tapped up. I'm going to just drag this down very lightly. I'm barely touching. If it's too like... Look, it just went in there with my finger.
I saw that.
Whatever you gotta do to make it light enough for you. Whatever you gotta do to make it light enough for two. So I'm just pulling this through, making these little drips. So these are these sort of distant, far away. I'm gonna get some more zinc on here so it's even softer. Distant, far away flowers, right? This canopy is just a drape with this. And you can even, I'm going to come down to the bottom, John, show them something. You can always drop a little bit of whatever's on your brush down there just to imply that maybe some of that fell.
Okay.
Right, there you go. So some of those have fell. Back up to the top. So sometimes when you're painting and you'll mix a really gorgeous color, especially if you're doing botanical objects. See how I'm just, look, the brush is on the flat and I'm just pulling it down and then pulling it away from the canvas, and if it gets too square, then I come on the edge and shape that shape. So we're coming through here, right? You can see as it goes over the darker color, look how it just organically darkens on its own. I can even be quite rough to get it off. So there, I've got that. I'm going to get a little more of my purple in there and some of my zinc. I'm going to come back through. If you need either glazing medium or water, go ahead and grab it. You want this to just carry through. I'm going to just make sure this is coming across. There we go. Just implied a little bit here and there. Now, you'll see me sometimes press harder, and that's there's less pigment on my brush, and it's also an area where I need color, but I don't need detail. So now I'm going to get right into my phthalo blue and get into the same zinc. See how I've done?
Yeah.
Oh, don't you love that? This color play together is one of my favorite. I'm so excited that purple is back in, people. So excited. I love me some pink, and I'm not saying we're not going to do another pink thing. We've got lots of pink, wonderful trees. I'm just saying purple trees be coming too. Gotta keep it all going. So see how we lighten that up? Just imply this distant set of distant stuff. Have fun. You can't really get it wrong here. You want to certainly leave your room for your unicorn or princess or fairy lights is what I have, you know, going back there. But now, right, you've got the canopy coming down. I'm going to rinse out my brush. And we're going to put in our trees. So I think I'm going to start my tree probably with a slightly bigger brush just so that I can make shorter work of it. I think I'll put this one here. So this is a cat's tongue that I made in my brush line. You could use a large round, like an 8 round, in the exact same way. It just won't have the big flat. You'll just have to press it to like splay it out, but it'll do a nice tip for you too. This is a number 8. I'm going to get my brush wet, and I'm going to come and get my purple and my blue, and I'll even get a little of my Prussian blue, and I'm going to make my darkest tree color that I can make. Look at me go there. Can we see that color mix? So this is, for the purposes of our canvas, almost a chromatic black, isn't it? I added a little glazing medium so it doesn't dry out on me so fast. I really want this piece to, you know, stand out from the background, so it's important that I make space for it to do that. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here just on the inside of my little bushes with this line. See, I'm curving it. I'm going to curve towards the left, and then I'm going to go up. I'm going to turn my brush. Here's me turning my brush, except I got to come back and kind of smooth this line. I'm turning my brush, and then I'm going to come up, and I'm going to take that right off the canvas. And you can, you know, have a little bit of this go towards the center. We got little flowers. I wouldn't take it all the way across, but, you know, brush this up, kind of work my pigment onto it. Now, it comes off the side here, so I can actually bisect into my tree and then just paint this solid. I don't you know, have to worry about that. So this is all I've got to do right here. See the solid corner? That's what I got to do right there. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to dip in water. I'm going to load up again with my dark purple, blue. So it's phthalo blue, diox purple, Prussian blue. All right, little water to thin it so it flows off my brush. I've got this little branch coming up. Make that a nice line there. Smooth that up. Now right about here, see that bend right there? I'm going to go ahead and make a smaller branch come off. Now the big trick here is I just want to make sure that this branch is smaller. I'm going to thicken up this strength of the tree coming up and smooth that line. See how I smoothed that? Get your brush, dip in water, load back up. Let's say right here or so, he's got a little friend that comes off and goes up. Thicken that right there, goes off and comes up. And then a little branch over here. Thicken this as we come down. See how we've thickened it? And we've built up quite a little tree here all of a sudden, haven't we?
Yeah.
Offload my paint. See, sometimes I have to get the paint out of my brush to get it back to the edge. Load back up the tip. And now I'm going to make another. I'll come down from this guy and come up. We're making another little branch that's kind of wandering back off the canvas over this way. So this is a pretty big tree we've got here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
He's not a small fellow. He's got some stuff afoot. So he's got a friend, and we're going to mix him up and do him exactly in the same way. So a little of the Prussian, a little of the phthalo, and a little of the purple. And he's an interesting fellow. He also comes up and comes in, but he comes in earlier. So we're going to come up right here and go in. See how we went there? Start to make that right-hand turn. Come up and then back. Pretty sharply. And then interestingly, I'm going to take it right up straight. So we're going to come like this, and I'm going to exaggerate this even more. I'm going to bend that in even more. There we go. That's a nice bend. So on this one, I'm going to just get this, the thickness that I want. Dipping in water. Loading the edge of the brush case, right? Because this is my brush, and I've got to load the edge. Now, like at the bend, there's kind of like this short turn on him that comes and comes down, and so we got to get that crazy little weird swoople that he's got, and then off he goes. You can go ahead and definitely darken this corner. There's a traceable. If trees are just like, you're just like, I can't do that. There's a traceable.
And
these are not the crookedest trees I do, but they're still pretty crooky.
Where would that traceable be?
That is on our website. If you check the description below, it will be the materials I used for this lesson. There is links to places to get them. There is a link to our website. On the website, all those things are there again, plus catalogs for all the lessons. And on this particular page, there's traceable. So you can print that out. It's a PDF and use that to get your image in. And sometimes it's even helpful just to look at a line drawing, because then you're like, oh, that's all I've got to worry about. So whatever helps you get through a painting, you're just building this up by layers. You can paint. Totally, for sure. If you work at it, you commit yourself to it, and you do it, and you do it, and you do it, and you don't give up on those little moments when it's maybe challenging or hard, you will get there. You absolutely will. I've seen it again and again and again and again. So I've got this little bend back here, and I'm going to come here. So he's thickening up a little bit, and then he's going to have a little, oh, the dog found another cat outside.
There's a cat that likes to walk by our front window.
She totally knows that it stresses out the dog, and it's been really on this week.
Yeah.
And the
she
kids
won't come in
think
the
it's
backyard
so
anymore.
funny.
The cat knows and won't come in the backyard anymore. She walks by the front window to get her now.
But she does walk the top fits.
That's true. The cat knows.
And she literally does wave her tail at the dog. Like, Twix is just like beside herself. And Twix knows that Daddy, which is John, does not like the cat sleeping on the roof of his car. So
This is true.
I think it's solidarity.
Well, the cat knows it too. Got the hose a couple times.
So I'm going to take another little branch over here. Right? I don't do that 4 branch until I get most of this tree in. That's how I got that crazy fun 4 branch in. So as I'm coming up, and I'm thickening this up, right? Because this is a pretty solid, intense little tree here that we have going. You know, I'm going to take another little sort of like branch that comes off, dips down over to the right, and then goes up. See how it dipped down and went to the right and then goes up?
Yeah.
And then he's going to have like a big branch that heads this way. So just painting that in. I'm just adding more pigment because what happens is that sometimes these paint colors are transparent, even on the pro paints. Like I'm painting the best paint I can paint, and sometimes even so the nature of the pigment is that it's transparent. So that's something that I've got to always be aware of and deal with and think about.
Yep.
Okay. Now I'm going to rinse out this brush, and I'm going to ask John if he could get me a fresh water because I didn't bring out enough cups. I think I needed 3 to 4. Sip my coffee and say, hope your trees are going in well. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Search Breathe Art Sherpa for a very funny video if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen the baby's breath video, which is an absolute one hoot, it is a hoot and it is one hoot, maybe half a hoot. It's like one of my simplest lessons. You got to go search that because that's such a lesson about mistakes and art and how we're just resilient about it and don't let it roll us. And then breathe out. It's important to love your canvas and it's important to love yourself. Those 2 things. And kind of, here's a tip, loving yourself and loving your canvas, a little bit the same thing, because your painting is you. It's a self-portrait. Then some of you are like, wait, what? This is crazy. Don't say it's a self-portrait. I got a whole Picasso going here. I mean, it's your true art, authentic creativity. So you've got to be respectful to your own art. In the same way you should be speaking kindly to yourself, you should speak kindly to your art and about your art. It's good for you. Good for your heart, good for your soul, in general. I hope you guys liked the secret little reveal on Facebook today. That was a clue. And this is all about remembering that our creative space needs to be chill, needs to be mellow, needs to be healing. Being creative is healing, not a replacement for doctors, but it is healing and it helps that process. So here we go again. Now I'm out of some colors. It looks like I'm running low on blue, impression blue. So I'll put those back out because I've got to shade my trees.
Don't shade your trees.
Don't be oh, that was Prussian. See? You can see the difference now. So I got to put my phthalo blue in a different spot. Does that ever happen to you? And you're like, nope. Nope.
I can honestly say it's never happened to me.
Never. You're right, it hasn't.
I've never
I don't know
put
why I'm
paint
being
out.
cheeky. It hasn't. I've been here. It's like we never go anywhere without each other. I don't know why I think you have a secret painting life. Why would I think that? Okay.
Where have I been putting paint out without you?
Yeah, really, seriously. Maybe miniature painting?
Maybe, yeah.
Painting miniatures for the indie? Well, no, we did that together too. Okay, so this is a number 4 bright.
I've known you since I was 19.
That's true. Jeez. Shh. Don't say.
Okay.
I'm going to get some just purple to begin with. I'm going to make sure I've got some glazing medium on my brush so it's, not completely drying out on me. And I'm going to darken the underside, the right-hand side, all of my right side branches. So since the light's coming through here, the highlights on the branches will all be on the side of the tree facing the light. kind of true for any tree that you're ever painting too, by the way. Just if you're wondering, true for every tree that you're painting. The light is where it faces the light. Now I'm going to add a special little shadow here at the crook of the tree. And I'm just deepening this up. You may not be able to see this, so let's just know.
Oh, where'd you go?
I'm going up the tree. I'm just making sure that we have the shadows in those right spots. I'm going to dip in my water. You can see when you add the water to the acrylic, it really improves the flow. You can use medium to do that too. I'm going to make sure there's a little shadow at the bend of the tree and darken that side. I always put a shadow at these little V's because even if there's light, it would cast a little shadow, wouldn't it? Right there, it would say shadow, shadow, shadow. Shadow, shadow, shadow. So while I've got this going, I'm going to offload a little bit of the purple. I'm going to add a little blue to what I've got going on. Get into my zinc a smidge. See how it just lightens it a bit. And look at that. I'm going to start lightening up this thing. Now I'm going to leave that shadow at the bend. Come up this branch, and I'm just starting to shape. I'm doing the beginning of shaping the tree. Painting trees the way you guys are always wanting to paint trees, because I feel like there's a tree everybody sort of has in their heart. I'm going to take this towards the front. This is, again, that number 4 Cambridge that's giving me that nice rough brush stroke that helps me paint bark. There's a tree everybody has in their head and their heart that they want to get out. I'm just using this ink to make little tonal differences between the shadow and the light. And you can see how painting that first layer really lets us create these deep, deep structures. So this isn't a silhouette, but it is an in silhouette, right? So a lot of times when you're doing paint nights, what they do is they use a silhouette as a way to simplify the composition and still keep the design very strong. But there's a lot of objects that can be in silhouette in our paintings because they're backlit. So all we're really saying is we have an object that's strongly lit from this opposite side of where we're viewing. So just lightening that up. See, I'm leaving that little shadow in the crook of the tree. Doesn't that create a nice little branch shape? Just getting this in a little bit. And it's okay to have some lighter values and some darker values. As I'm going up, I can get right into my titanium white. And I can even get some magenta in that mix. So it's got a little of that pink that we like so much. And I'm going to come to the front of the tree and see this little wiggle motion that I'm making? This is how I'm going to talk about the bark a bit. Look at that. That's all we got to do to talk about the bark a bit. But I'm not gonna mess with the crook. I'm gonna leave that, right? Creating that shadow shape on the tree. So I'm just making sure that the front edge has got more of a highlight. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
We're just lighting it up. Now we're in the titanium white. Now we're in the titanium white.
Now, what brush is this?
This is the number 4 Cambridge. You
Okay.
could use a cat's tongue. You could use a bright. You could use a round. I think this brush does a really good scumbly stroke. So that's just a feeling that I have about it. That's probably a fact. It does do a really good scumbly stroke. So you can see that the zinc gave me very subtle, right, color change. But the titanium gives me a big one. And I'm just making sure that this tree has got these highlights. Look at me just using the edge of my bristles to find the edge of the tree. Edge of my bristles to find the edge of the tree, and then I'm bigger strokes, but loose and open. We're now like giving it some bark. You can, its shape is starting to appear, and that's wonderful. Get a little more of my magenta. I'm gonna have to put some more of that out. Just warming up the purple a little bit. I always like to test the color in a space I know I need a light color, just in case it's lighter than where I want to go. This would be a little less light than the branch in front of it. But it would still have some highlights on it. And now I'm going to rinse out. This little fellow doesn't have any tiny twigs that I've got to worry about. So I can actually hit this next range of highlights. So go ahead and get that aqua. Put a little of your phthalo into it. Yeah, that was actually phthalo, don't worry. I'm going to grab some of my zinc, and I'm thinking actually, no, I'm going to need a little of my titanium. So, a couple places on the branch. See, I have the brush a little kind of perpendicular to the tree. And I'm wiggling random. It like implies a bark. Can you guys see the bark?
I see the ghostly bark.
It's a ghostly bark. Is it ghostly?
I don't know. I feel like it could be ghostly. It's definitely magical.
Well, these are magical purple trees.
No,
These are unicorn-infested trees.
Was this inspired by the last unicorn?
I look, you couldn't look at my art and not tell what I've been influenced by in my life.
Well, that's true. I mean, like, I guess to some degree, you could go back and, like, yeah.
I mean, like, not specifically, like, not in the way, like, I watched it right before and was singing, like, you know, all the songs and
So it was
going magic, magic, do what you will. And I'm like, there's the sexy tree, and screwing all the things I like to scream in the last unicorn. But a lot of my work has that sensibility to it.
So it definitely influenced the Meta Cinnamon, but not necessarily this painting.
The Meta Cinnamon was so influenced by unicorn, I doubt I could ever extract it.
Right.
Like when I was a young girl, my mom got a job painting unicorns and got like all upset because she was like, I just don't want to paint unicorns for the rest of my life. And I thought, how could you not want that? Like, you just got the coolest gig ever. So I'm just making a slightly lighter blue. And this is just, you know, it's just picking up little highlights. See how it is? I don't want to do it too much because I've got these little white flowers and I want to be able to see them. It's important to see them, but it is nice to have a fully realized little sense of bark. And see, I'm wiggling. Like if it gets too bright, I can just wiggle it right into the paint. But now I have a tree. It's distinctly a tree. It has tree bark. It has tree shape. It's wonderful. I have to do a very similar thing over here. And I've got to add some little twiggles. So to do that, I'm going to get my number 4 round, if I have one, out. If I don't, I was going to get my red-handled number 4 round. Ah, there's one. Like, I have to have a clean one. That would be crazy. So I'm going to dip this in water. I'm going to get my Prussian blue, phthalo blue. They're already together over there. And a little of my Doc's purple. See, I'm rolling it. Dip in water to improve the flow. And I'm going to make sure that I've got, coming off of here, a slightly thought about little branch. Can you see how I like pressed harder at the beginning of that stroke and was lightening it?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to get here and I'm going to add another little branch. And you don't have to do a lot. You just want to say that there's some branches happening there. Maybe in a little one here.
Oh. I bumped the camera the wrong way.
I'm going to have drippy flowers, right? So there's no point in doing like too much stuff because drippy flowers are happening. Now while I'm here with this little brush, I'm going to roll off. I'm going to go ahead and get some little zinc going.
Oh, it bumped off the canvas there again.
Okay, I got some little zinc to lighten it. And it's not enough, so I'm going to get some titanium white. I want to make sure that I am hitting this early because it's going to take a special brush to highlight the light side of these branches. Right? I can go do the whole tree in a second, but right now I've got to make sure I have that highlight, because if I don't, I'm going to be so sorry. I'm going to rinse it out. Everything okay?
Yeah, I'm just making sure I use this.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Because I was like, I can't move the thing anymore. All right, so I've taken my purple like we did the last time, and I'm just making sure I've got a nice shadow in the crook of that, shadow in the crook of that, and darkening the side that isn't exposed to the keyhole. See how I did?
Yeah.
So that's worked out now. I don't have to worry about that for a second, and I can start shading in this whole fabulous tree. Back to my number 4 Cambridge, and pretty much exactly as we did before. I'm getting the pure purple, and I'm going to be coming on the back side of where the shadow would be on this particular tree, because what side is far away from the light? The back side of the tree. This side of the tree. That's all we're doing. Oh, I had a little white on that. It's okay. Still pretty dark purple, so I'll be all right. Sometimes that'll happen. You'll have a little bit of pigment on something. Just assess, is it you do need to rinse, or are you all okay? Like in this particular case, I had so little of it that I was okay. And I'm just making sure that the dark sides of everything are as dark as they can be. So what are we doing? We're making sure that little bend is always dark in the back side of the branches. Get that going. All right, that would be dark there. So here we go. So we've done some stuff. And then I'm almost out of zinc and magenta, so I'm gonna put those back out, because I may need to add some flowers to the front if I'm not happy, and I definitely have to add some magenta to the upstairs flowers. So, you know, it's really just about where you're at in the painting. Though I think I am pretty happy with that keyhole. That looks pretty epic. I just may move some up into this space later. So I'm going to still get the magenta into my brush, like you do. And I guess I got to find my zinc, which is right here. I'll put it next to my rapidly skinning white and other paint. Hot day, hot day, hot day. Thank goodness this made it through the whole thing. I didn't have to mix it again, right? So I'm just adding a little bit of the magenta and zinc white to my mix to start to lighten this up. And I'm going to begin to take the front of my tree, and I'm making these sort of like rough brush strokes, right? Because that's the bark on my number 4. What's the bark? That's the bark. You need to get it wet, get it wet. Just come along here and make sure that your tree has a couple of tones, some values.
A multi-tonal tree.
A healthy tonal tree. Now, for sure, I'm going to want to put a circle there. So, see how I had that circle? That's going to be a knot. I always like to add a knot to one of my trees.
You do.
I do, man. My trees have knots. They're naughty trees.
You do like naughty trees.
I do like naughty trees. See, I'm just being rough with this brush, and it's creating that bark feeling.
You're being rough on that naughty tree.
Yeah, you gotta be rough on your trees. Be rough on them, and they don't mind.
They've got thick bark.
They got thick bark. You gotta be rough on something. Be rough on a tree. So I'm gonna come up the front of this branch, but of course I'm gonna avoid the shadow, right, that happens at the bend. Pulling this light forward. But then here it does what? It goes to the front of that branch and skips that bend and goes to the front of that branch. And And that act of shadowing the bend and really talking about those lights, that really helps. So into my white now, making that more highlight color, it's stronger. Start to, bark it up here. There you go. Gotta get some blue into it. You can. Kind of chill it out so it's not too purple. Here we go. Around our knot. And the knot will just pop in. It'll just it like came out of nowhere, man. That knot just showed up. Officer, I have no idea where that knot came from. I was like minding my own business, painting a magical forest, and boom, there it was. I have never, ever talked back to a police officer in my life, so that would never happen. I'm a very apologetic arrestee. No, I've never been arrested, but you know what I mean? Like if I got pulled over, I'm like, I'm so sorry, I don't know what I did, but I'm sure it's my fault. I'm not, however, a lawyer's favorite person. I'm sure I did something wrong. I don't know what it is. Usually for me, it's like a tail light issue.
It's true.
I'm not much of a speeder. I'm not really aggressive on the road. So see, I've gotten those values, but now I can come in and...
Man, those trees have really come in.
They do, don't they?
They look really good.
They're just like all of a sudden you're just like, dude, do I just have a tree here now? I'm going to get a little more of my magenta into that mix and just hit one more highlight into it on this far tree because it doesn't have the flowers in it. So I'm going to just make sure I've got this little pink here and I'll come there and just a couple little places that for this. See how it's just a little pinked? So these trees are relatives, but they're not twins. Does that make sense? They're each their own gateway sentinel. And it's important to think of them as like gateway sentinels because it puts into perspective, you know, what they might have going on as they are guarding the entrance to obviously a magical realm. I mean, you can completely tell. And while I'm here, I can go ahead and get a little of my little turquoise color, add some little phthalo to it, grab some zinc, a little white if I need to, just to be sure. And just add a little bit to this tree. Maybe not, you know, especially like right here at the front edge. And we're just going to make sure that I'm going to come get a little white on my brush, come right here. Now, especially coming here, I'm going to definitely highlight that because that might really feel highlighted from the light below, right? But maybe not as much on these upper branches in my imagination. Maybe not as much in my imagination. Alrighty, that is looking pretty cool. Got two highlights happening here. I think I'm going to rinse out, let this dry for a second. While I'm at it, I'm getting too water, making sure my brush is all completely clear pigment. I'm going to get my zinc and a little bit of my quinacridone again together. And I'm going to just pop a couple little flowers here. And remember, as I was concerned about the tree, you know, sometimes they have different placements. So you gotta just think. And I'm going to get some just green here. A little green. A little of my phthalo into that green. I'm going to just darken that there and make sure this feels a little bit like another little layer of bush. See how I did? So sometimes you'll be painting, you're like, man, what happened there? Okay, that's fine. I'll just finish it out this way. Don't get upset though. Just be chill with it, man. All right, now these little flowers, they can actually have the green in them. And I'm going to get a little of my zinc. When I'm mixing is a slightly grayed. See how that's like a little bit knocked back? So the little ones that I'm seeing here, they're there, but maybe they're more in shadow. See? They're there. Clearly part of the flowers, but maybe they're more of a shadow to the flowers. And then we've got the opening between the trees, which looks like a regular opening, but clearly you've got to be very special to get through. And I'm going to put my big branch up here in a second while I'm still letting this, oh no, it's ready. So I'm going to get my number 4.
Thank you.
Huh?
Air conditioning.
What?
It dried your painting fast.
It did, man, didn't it?
Yeah, I see all your paint drying on the palette there.
Oh yeah, it's just going. So I made my dark color, and I'm gonna get some water into that because this is that first layer that I'm gonna put out. Now this branch is sort of interesting. So how I get him in is first I make a little bit of a U right here. See that little U right in the middle of the tree? And I'm gonna wander that a line with the number 4 round this way. I know, bravery, right? And let's take a little bend towards the right. So sometimes branches are on the forward-facing side of us. Make sure that this is a little more in shadow. What I'm doing here is making sure my little U has a little shadow underneath it. Otherwise, it's just not going to stand out the right way. I need to put out a little more purple that I'll put somewhere. There it is. And we're going to just real quick work in this fantasy branch. And this branch, I almost didn't do the painting like as a lesson because of this branch. Because I was like, man, it's going to add a lot of time in painting. But then I realized I haven't done one of these and I should totally do one. And then everyone will know how that's done. How do you do the foreshortened forward-facing branch? I'm just making sure that the foundation of this is flowing out. Now when I'm right here, it's got a nice little flow. Oh, that's a lovely little fellow. I can come in and make another little breakaway guy that can come right here. Little tiny lines. One of the good things that you can do as an artist is practice your lines. Right? Can you make thin lines? Can you make thin lines? Can you make them thick? Can you make them thin? What can you do with them? Now I'm going to take this one, I'm going to break it out like on the tip of the brush this way. Maybe break another one out like a tip of the brush that way. If I'm having trouble flowing the paint off, I'm going to just reload it. Now, if you have trouble like our one viewer mentioned earlier with steady hands, you don't have to do these weird little elements. Oh, and by the way, it's a long honored tradition in art to like have a studio assistant. Right? If it's good enough for Thomas Kincaid, it's good enough for you. If you have very shaky hands and this is just not doable, it is okay to grab your friend with steady hands and say, hey, put these branches in for me. No rules against it. You don't have to sign their name to or nothing.
They're just assisting you in your art.
They're assisting you in your art.
They should not paint most of your painting for you, though.
No.
But they can assist you.
That is the worst thing that parents do to their kids. In sip and paints.
Oh, yeah.
And painting parties is they come in and they paint the painting for the kids.
Yep.
Don't do that to your children. Don't do it. Let them get through. The only time to get in there is that they're begging you to do it. And even if you do, you got to be like, I know you can do this. I'm just helping you because you're stressed. But I know you could do it. I know you could. I'm going to just add a little bit of a branch coming up here. So see how we've added this very interesting, very involved, crazy, magical style branch? And that creates another layer in the painting. You can put as many branches on it as you feel like. I think I'm going to stop soon so I can show you how to shade them. See, I can curve that one out here and curve one. This guy needs some too. See, this is how that other one got so involved. I'm just making sure that they look like real branches. So once I get him in, and now we have that like extra layer, then I can go and get my zinc right in there, get that zinc. And I'm still going to use the round. And I'm going to go ahead and start the highlight to the front of the branch. I am going to definitely leave the shadow, right, to the back. And it doesn't matter that I didn't paint the purple first. It's not really critical the order in which you get that done. It's just important that you do it. So this one isn't going to have quite as many layers as his friend or be as involved, but you still have to do some of it or it won't read as finished, right?
Right.
So dip in the water, then the paint. And you're just making sure that you're shaping this. Sure you've got the highlight right there. You need to roll off and reload, man. Do it. Don't feel bad about it though. To make this pop, you're going to have to really play with the highlights and shadows. And I mean, if I was like getting real crazy about it, I'd probably even like cast another little weird shadow around it. So. Here we go. We're just highlighting, 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 huh? So I've got that on there. I'll rinse that out. Rinse, 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 rinse. And I'm going to get just my purple. All right, if you've got to get some glazing medium in there so it's not drying on your brush the way it's drying on mine. I'm going to come at the back side of this and curl this around. And again, I'm trying to show that there's this shadow right here. And hopefully you're starting to see the shape of the branch. And hopefully my hat is not blocking it. I'm like, oh no, I'm wearing that big flowery hat today.
I think you're doing okay so far.
Okay. So see, I'm just getting the dark color now. Be as careful as you can be. You know, and also assess. You'd be like, if you've never done a thin line, right, in your life, don't find out right here if it's going to work out. Do it on a scratch piece of paper. Right? Practice before you put it on the piece that you poured your heart into. And then also know, let's say you put your heart into a painting and things got a little weird, got a little wonky. Repaint. You didn't waste your time if you learned something from it. If you assessed and you learned something, you've done what artists do. Because artists absolutely have to repaint all the time. We fail. And that's the best thing about being an artist is you learn that that's a big part of creativity, and it's okay to try a technique and maybe not win at it the first time you try it. John will tell you, I'm like at the space now when something's hard, I almost get excited because I'm like, man, everyone's not going to be able to do this. I'm gonna hang in. Okay, so see, I'm going to darken that right there, helping that branch kind of show up. Now, I'm going to put out early, only because the flow of this is so much better than heavy body paint. Because, well, it's a high flow medium, so it's got, not high flow, it's a soft body. They call this fluid. Golden does. I imagine it's probably the more correct way to refer to it. Just guessing. And I'm going to get a little of this titanium into that purple mix that I had. Make a nice light color that's really going to pop. And I'm going to come to the front of the branch, make a little line, and wiggle my brush back and forth to demonstrate this bark. See how I'm doing? And come right here. You need to roll off and reload as you're going out. Go ahead and do that. See how I'm doing? Adding that highlight, aren't I?
Yeah.
Adding that little highlight. This is a super tool if you can have it in your art kit. Super tool to have. So I'm just making these sort of rough strokes, if you can see. And that's helping make it feel a little bit like a bark, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Catching those forward-facing lines. And this backward stroke is also like an interesting thing to like enforce this, that there's a highlight here, and there is some here, and then...
Twix.
Hi, Twix. And there's some right here, and up this branch. And now we are almost there. Like seriously, we are almost here. And then how I'm going to finish that out is I need to have that aqua on there too, otherwise it won't feel like it's in the painting. But I don't have to have a ton, I just have to have some. So I'm going to get this aqua on my brush and a little bit of my glazing medium so it extends a bit. And I'll go ahead and pull my fluid on. I will add some of that crazy highlight that I like to not every part of my tree, but just some of this, right?
Yeah.
Because we're saying that this is impacted by the same lighting as the tree next to it. So I gotta carry that through in some way. And then as soon as I'm done with this, I'm gonna have a little coffee break, and John's gonna tell his joke, and we're gonna say thank you again to everyone who's been helping us help St. Jude Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
That's been fantastic, and I'm so glad you guys can't believe it. And remember, one of the things is we do have the study, so that would be this one. All of the studies from this month you can get as one of your incentives. So you can check that out when you're donating and be like, I really want that painting. Well, that's where you would get that.
Now you paint those before
Yeah.
the show.
I often paint those before the show. Sometimes I work from just a photograph, but if it's something like this that's real high fantasy, I have to design that before the show, right?
Do some test paintings.
Yeah. I gotta test it. I gotta figure out how to simplify it. There we go. Now we have that forward branch. Have you ever done a branch that's forward facing? It's pretty exciting, isn't it? Rinse this out. Rinse, rinse, rinse. And now I get to do two fun things. First, I'm going to dip my brush, my number 4 round. Gosh, this is one of my very favorite branch, tree, twigs, fine line brushes ever, ever, ever. Usually you have to get a tiny, tiny detail brush to get a line like this, but these come with a really good line. Just right in that crescent. That's where I want to be. I'm going to come to the edge of my canvas, and I'm going to start making these little grass strokes. And can you see how I flick and then I change direction? Me and Stephen Pabst, we were watching a video on one of the watch parties in group with him, John.
Yeah.
And I was like, check out how he does grass, TVs. And I'm like, because see, that's how you do it. One of the great realist painters in the world. And he still made teepees. Because you have to change the direction of the grass. That's just something observable that grass does. It's messy. It has a direction that it wants to grow, but you still have to help it get there. See, I'm just implying the shape. It's happening right here. And it's coming off a dark corner, so when I first get this in, you can barely see it. Barely, barely, barely. But it's there. And then as you start adding, so I'm going to get into my fluid and add a little fluid. And now I'm going to just talk about some of these. I got my little fluid paint. See how we're doing?
Yeah.
And that's some of them, but not all of them, just some, because if you do too much, then it's going to be just a big white bush and it won't feel like it's coming out of the dark of the normal human woods that you've come from. Rinse, 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 rinse. Now I'm going to get my phthalo blue, and even a little bit of my fluid white. See, it just lightens it some. It's really going to show. And because the way phthalo is, it's actually going to pop against the Prussian. And this is one of the reasons why it ain't the same color, is it? But I'm still protecting. Can you see I'm still protecting that deep dark space?
Yeah.
And now I'm going to dip in the water, roll off, get some strong white.
So wow. So I'm gonna say while you're filling those in real quick, I owe Lady Fair a joke.
You owe Lady Fair a joke, and I got to make little white highlights, so go for it.
All right. So how many surrealists does it take to change a light bulb?
Oh no, Lady Fair, how many surrealists does it take to change a light bulb?
2. One to hold the graffiti, and the other to fill the bathtub with brightly colored machine tools. So
True.
it's true. But
that's the truest thing I ever heard.
If you've got your brightly colored machine tools, you've got to know where to put them.
That's the truest thing I ever heard. I'm going to get back into my number 4, right? Sip some coffee. Let John check on our St. Jude. If you're not aware, this entire month we're streaming. We're doing all these lessons. Everything I'm painting. It's dedicated to St. Jude Children's Hospital. These designs are created so that you and anyone painting them, if there's somebody who's like in recovery or they're in treatment and they're painting too, that they're uplifting, that they raise up your soul, that they raise up your heart, help your hope, and help your optimism.
Now, can I tell you something that's really awesome, Cinnamon?
Mm-hmm.
Is that if I look over here, it appears that we have raised over $2,260 for St. Jude with the help of our loving, awesome, super duper awesome community.
Wow. Wow.
So I'm going to say thank you guys. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is huge. You're really helping the best people in the world. You're the best people in the world too. But the heroes at St. Jude Children's Hospital, they protect our children, they protect our future, and they are really about the good they do. And once they end all childhood illness, they said they're going to work on poverty and famine, fix those. So good investment for the future.
We're going to have to keep.
I don't think they were kidding either. I think they're like, yeah, we're totally working on famine and poverty because we're done with that too.
Yeah.
So I'm taking my burnt sienna into my phthalo green, making that dark color again. I might even this time add some of my phthalo blue to it to really deepen it because that's purple. And I'm getting that all mixed in. The reason this is, you notice this is climbing at my brush, it's that the paint is drying and I'm really having to mix deep instead of coming from the center of the paint. And that's what causes it to creep up. So I'm going to come up here to the corner and I'm just going to tap my brush. I'm tapping. And as I'm tapping, I'm going to take some of these little tendrils of tapping down. Just tap, 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 tap. This is the canopy. And the canopy should be rich. It should be dark and mysterious. Right? And it should talk about the health of the trees. They're not only magical trees, they're super healthy magical trees. There are no dark wizards messing with this part of the forest. You know, all the ant wives, everybody knows where they are. Try not to take out some of your best design works. If you have a wonderful opening, leave that. It's okay that you're going to paint out some of the stuff that you did, but leave some of what you've got going on, right? You got to leave some. I know there's a lot happening in this painting to do, huh?
There is.
There is. We've still got a vine to put up here, and we've got little flowers to add here and some fairy lights after we flower our top of our trees.
This is pretty nice. This is a nice chill painting.
Well, the one we did last year for St. Jude was 5 hours, so I feel like we're much shorter.
Much shorter.
And that painting, if you guys remember from last year, the dragon from Azure Wing Repose, we had talked about auctioning it off, and we didn't get that done before the end of Play Live last year, so we kept it. And on the 19th, that's going to go on eBay. All of the profits from that, all of them, are going to go to St. Jude Children's Hospital. So here we are, we're just painting this. And again, study from today's painting.
Yep.
You're in love with it.
They're all available to benefit St. Jude.
That's all we want to do is I remember just sitting there taking the tour just thinking, I will never be so cool and amazing as the doctors. There's like this one doctor, and this is not like in any way, because I think John is just the coolest, handsomest, best man on earth. I mean this in the sense like he was like a TV doctor, and I was like, it was like Mick Dreamy was running up and down the aisle, saving lives. Like every 2 minutes we turned around, and he had his like little man bun going, and he's like really purposeful, and his like obviously tailored little scrubs up and down the aisle, saving lives. And you could just tell he's like, I gotta go save lives this way.
Dr. McDreamy?
Dr. McDreamy.
Yeah, you should have talked about Dr. McDreamy.
Yeah. And it's not like even like John isn't my McDreamy, because he's totally my McDreamy.
Oh, I totally understand.
It's just John would have been like, that guy is like just like McDreamy. And I'd have been like, I know, I just believe he's a real person. There's no way he's smart and that. There's just no.
But if at St. Jude, it makes sense.
At St. Jude, it does make sense. So that's how that works there. I'm going to rinse, 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 rinse. Rinse, 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 rinse. And now I'm going to create the little highlights in my greenery. And that's a lot of fun for me, because that's essentially, I'm going to have to pat it up more Indian yellow. See, my paint is drying. That's how long we've been here. Here we go, capping that up. Get that Indian yellow and a little of that phthalo green, but not the part that has the brown. A lot of Indian yellow. I'll get a little bit of this white. I just need some white to show the put the skin back. See how I'm mixed, all crazy mix? On these little drops, I'm going to highlight them. Look at that. Up into the tree. I'm on the edge of my brush. I'm tapping these in. You can see what it looks like.
Drop the wisteria.
You got to drop it. Right? Got to drop it. That's how you do. A little yellow. A little white, a little green. We ain't kidding. It's time, man. Come back down with that hot, brighter color. See, so I'm just like making sure that these little drops. Look at that. See, it just pops them right up out of the background, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This is why I love this color. Such an important color. Makes the little plants seem happy. You gotta sing when you're painting. It's like a total thing. Even if you can't sing like me, you gotta sing anyways. I mean, I'm not gonna try out for Idol. I know better.
I might try you out for Idol.
It would just be like, or any of the shows with Simon Cowell, would be just to be like, Gordon Ramsay has a faster lap than you on Top Gear. How you feel about that?
I totally would like to meet Simon.
Would you?
Dude.
Are you going to give him grief about Top Gear? Because I would.
No, dude's produced some of the greatest shows on earth. I'd like to just find out, anything he'd have to say.
Well, sure, but we got to tease him for Top Gear.
Well, after the appropriate deference was there, yes, I'd totally
Once we were
Gordon Ramsay spanked you, didn't he?
Huh?
Yeah, totally. I'd be like, Gordon Ramsay spanked you. But
I think he went redeemed himself, but, it happened. But I don't know who's up now. Does anyone know who's up now on Top Gear? Or did they stop when they changed the cast?
Since we went to 3 times a week live,
I can't watch Top Gear.
My ability to watch has gone down.
So I just grabbed some more phthalo green on here. Again, I'm just building up these layers, just trying to say that there's bright colors, that there's these deep colors. There's, like ogres and donkeys and onions, there's layers. Just make sure too that, you know, your little drop downs, they have different heights and things, right? You're picking the front of it. You're not painting out all the green. You're painting some of it so that it shows. You don't want to paint it all out. Otherwise, it's not going to feel like it's, you know, drippy. Drippy, drippy, drippy. Rinse, rinse, rinse. You got to let that dry for a second. You just do. So while you're there, I'm going to get a little of my yellow and come over to my white. And I'm going to make a nice, I got to come over here. I got to make my first color, which is pretty dark. And I'm using my number 4 round again. And I'm going to make some little spike flowers. I'm going to just tap this. Right? I might come down here and tap, tap, make it a little bit bigger. And as I come up, I'm layering this, see? Just layering this and then tap, tap, tap. Let's make another one. So I know it's gonna, the reason I do the tops is so I know where to stop it, otherwise they can get out of hand on me. So I go like this and then I go, okay, I need one about that big, and then I start putting in the little layered bell flowers that make the spike. And then I can make maybe a little smaller spike once I see those spikes. And maybe a little spike in the grass. And you want to just fill up your floor of your forest with all the little spikes that you can. You can get a little magenta in it if you want to make it, you know, warmer.
Now,
and this is one of those moments, like, we're going to get into the cad yellow. We only get into the cad yellow on this painting on a couple of things, but you're going to find that it's a super helpful yellow when you need it. But we're putting in the basis. Maybe there's like one that kind of comes here. I'm just tapping this in. You were about to say something, babe. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
oh, no, no, no.
We're just doing this all over the grass right now. Lots of different shapes and sizes. Right?
I was excited because I realized we just crossed last year's St. Jude goal. So we just $2,270.
Really?
Really?
Dude.
That means we're almost to 3,000.
That means you're gonna have to be on air, babe.
Well, my hands are.
I'm just saying, you're gonna paint an ATC.
I suspect I am this year.
I love that y'all are making him do that.
You have no idea.
If I had said John shaves his head, his hair would have been shaved.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even be worried. I gave John something that was gonna really make him have to think.
I have to be on the camera. That's not good.
That's not John's favorite.
That's not good at all.
It's like flying and me. He'll only do that for St. Jude. Not even me. Just St. Jude. And he didn't even do the tour. If he'd done the tour. So see, I've made a nice little arrangement of some yellow flowers down there.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my brush and water so my paint stays nice and flowy. You see I'm mixing it, getting some more, get that pigment loaded if you need a little red in there to warm it up. Same thing this side. It is crazy. Do we have anybody we need to thank?
Oh my gosh,
While we're
so
flowering,
many people.
I got about 20 more of these I got to paint.
Let me go back in here. I got to go back.
Not to give you a task, I'm just saying.
I've got buttons to push to go back into that dashboard area.
Then back into the dashboard.
I was looking at the high level because we just crossed the same level that we did last year. So I was looking at the dashboard to see what was going on there.
See who we owed what to, how many people got jokes, how many people
gosh,
like.
there's so many.
You know, at the what is it, the $20 level, you get a gift basket, which is a bunch of gifts. Because I had to learn how to make gifts for our Indiegogo, and now I have a bunch of gifts. And so now you guys get a gift basket of my paintings.
I think that they're culturally appropriately said GIFs.
GIFs?
GIFs. Although we call them GIFs because we came from the pre-pronunciation era of the internet,
Yeah,
and it was GIF.
it was.
So it was a
GIFs.
GIF.
All right, a GIFs
The
basket. Whatever you
GIFs.
guys need, you get one.
The GIF basket.
Like, it's just a bunch of them. So I hope you like my artwork because you can get a bunch of that. And then at the 50, John has to tell you a joke on air
Mm-hmm.
because he's the laughing panda. And then at 100, I'm going to do a special private live only for the people who donated at that level, just them.
Yep.
And nobody else even gets it later. It's theirs.
That's right.
Just for them. And then 250, you go fishing with John.
What? Fishing with stunt paws.
Fishing with stunt paws. And wow,
That's
takes
right.
you on a fishing trip.
We go into World of Warcraft, and I bring you to all my favorite fishing places in Azeroth.
It's
And
like a whole thing. Everybody wants John to take them on that tour, so I'm like, we should make that a reward.
Well, since we're doing this is for video games, so keep in mind that these rewards were targeted for those people who were into video games. You know, and then of course the $1,000 level, you get the steady from the Sherpa from this month's Play Live month.
Yep, and that's a bunch of paintings too.
Or any of those. You pick from any of those. So
first come first serve, but yeah, because But of course, I'd probably repaint one for somebody.
Yeah, knowing
Honestly,
you, it's
for
like
this, I would just repaint it for you guys. All had your heart on the same paintings. Don't
probably
even
restudy it.
Yeah, I would just for this, not like in general. I'm not like that agreeable of an artist, but for this cause, for sure, I am.
For you've bent over backwards for our community. I've seen you.
Yeah,
I know. You
He's
love
like,
them
"What are
as
you
much
doing?"
as
I
I
gotta answer
do.
questions. He's like, it's 2 in the morning. Stop answering questions.
Step away from the brush.
But she won't finish her painting if I don't share this information, and she's gonna be really stressed. Just
Or you're like, I want to make sure that we have a study for tomorrow so that everyone can see what we're gonna paint. Well, that's also us not scheduling our day before the painting schedule. So, yeah, there's that.
sippy sippy. I just put out some cadmium yellow. We're totally mellow, like cadmium yellow.
Why are we talking about our bad habits when we should be saying thank you to guys for helping us raise all this money for St.
Yes,
Jude?
that's what we should be saying.
Totally deflect that.
Thank you. Thank you. You are just, I so appreciate this. Also, I want to thank the other art YouTubers that have come up for St. Jude. There's a whole bunch. If you search the hashtag Derp Squad, there's a bunch of artists. I know I've seen Art by Esther A. I saw Stephanie of Deliberately Creative. I saw MWB Arts, Mark Bergeron. I've seen Meme and Melody Lane. I have seen Tanya of Tartan Taz Create. She did a portrait of me. And am I missing anybody? I probably am. If I'm missing you, let me know and I will shout you out. Because if you're doing this for St. Jude, I want to help you in some way. I so appreciate your community. I appreciate all these videos out there raising awareness that this is a thing that's happening. This is happening, and we're going to support this place into the future because I think they might solve poverty and famine if they solve illness. I mean, they're my best bet for believing it could happen. So I'm going to take some of my Indian yellow over to my CAD yellow. Did anyone come up that I was missing in the chat, babe?
Oh my gosh. I am just, it's possible. I am juggling, multitasking things.
Yeah, I did say Art by Esther A, right?
Oh, I think so, yes.
Yeah, she actually got on and did her first live stream on Twitch.
Oh, wow.
And she'd never done that before, which I think is pretty cool. I'm adding this little mix of this bright color to the flowers. Can you see how I'm doing that?
I do.
And this is what helps them kind of stand out as the little yellow foresty flowers that they are. I just kind of pick a side or a space that I think might have some light on it. I'm going to roll out and get right on my tip. And this is how we just do these. We're just a very delicate little thing there. Look at them just being all sweet. Oh, and I got to Stephanie, how are you back? How are you back? She twitches and paints for St. Jude and is on design team.
Oh, she does the cool K-pop stuff, right?
She does, yeah, she has a K-pop channel where she gets you up on, if you are into any of the K-pop bands, she has the deets. Did my lights just flicker? I feel like I saw a flicker.
We might need to get some artists in here to change them.
I need 10 people now to tell me this painting is good. I'm not going to do these two outer ones because I want to have some of them feel like they're, and they're more in the distant back. So, like, I might only do a couple spots on this one. There we go. And one of the things you can do is you can grab some Just CAD, and just load it up on the tip of your brush. And on some of these, you can put some of that. See how we're doing? So we're just adding a little bit of that bright. Not all of them, otherwise it's too bright. But this helps those up front feel like, that they're very, very yellow, yellow. Yellow, yellow little fellow. See, now they're like a glow. CAD makes things glow. That was Bob Ross, and one of Thomas Kincaid's methods was to use a lot of cadmium. To that end, our upstairs flowers, they're going to be very that too. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to start with a little of our purple, our blue, and our magenta in kind of like a weird little unmixed mix. I'm going to grab some of my zinc, which is skinning, but I can get to it, as you can see. Your mix of colors. And I'm going to start with some of the drop-down flowers. So start putting this out. They drop down in different spots. I think I want some more magenta in there. They're going to drop down in slightly different spots than their little plant friends. Think about that. Are they right on top of the greenery? Where are you putting them? Where could they be? I don't even, maybe just a little bit back here with the darker part of the color. More of that right there, grabbing that. Put some pink here. I can come here and, and as you get in the back, you can let it be the darker color because as these go back into the shadows, right, they wouldn't be as bright. You're just trying to kiss this space with this color. I'm going to rinse out, and here's where we're really, really, really going to see them. Since my zinc is skinning so bad because, dry, all these colors are skinning, I'm going to go ahead and put out a little zinc and a little magenta to make sure that when I get my CAD involved, and by the way, we are really approaching, we've just got vines and roses and twinkle lights after this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's really good. We're doing really good. So I'm going to get a little of my magenta out and some of my CAD yellow. And my zinc. So see how that is? It's just all loosely mixed. Just like the greenery was. Can you see the flowers now? Roll off. Pick up a little more of the magenta and a little more of the zinc. That will take it into a brighter pink. Here we go. Here we go. All right. We're just tapping that, aren't we? We're just getting that pink there. Kissing a little bit of those upward flowers. Maybe just a little bit here. Have fun with it, like bloom it up. Bloom it up. How's that look? Oh, isn't that pretty?
Yeah.
Doesn't that feel like something got caught in the light? I love the glow of it. Rinse, 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 rinse. Now, when I do the green, I have a couple of things that I can do. So I did this the first time in a real interesting way. I took my smallest Cambridge, which is this number 2, getting it wet, and I took my zinc and I put just a smidge of my phthalo into it. See how I have here?
Yeah.
And I went around my little tree and I made these little sort of little smidges. Smidge. You might think you would do the vines first, but in this particular case, I wanted to know where my flowers were going to be. And so I put them in first. And the reason we have this slightly off-white with the blue is so that when I come back with the titanium white, I can pop this flower. It will feel super white. So you're just looking for little spots that you can have this growing. You can have little buds and open bits. Just all good. Keep getting your zinc and just tap them into the flowers. I'm doing. Some of them can be bigger and some can be smaller. Loading up. Just making sure that it's just pretty, pretty, pretty. You know, and that would be one of the things I would say is just make sure some of them are smaller and some of them are bigger, you know, in the way that plants have a lot of variance, right? So like there's this weird minute where your tree looks like it just has the pox.
Mm.
Like, oh my gosh, my tree has pox. I worked really hard on the tree and now it's got a bunch of poxy dots on it. But you're gonna rinse out your brush. And you're gonna grab a little bit. I just pushed the skin of my titanium white to the side. You need a little bit of your titanium white. You're gonna load it right up on your brush. And you're gonna touch a couple spots of these flowers. Not all of them.
Just to accentuate them.
And you're gonna do it in a way that implies that the outer edge of them, right, is much whiter. And what that does, that tonal variance actually does make them feel like little white flowers that are growing up a tree.
Yeah.
Right, so those are all that I'm going to touch now with the little white. So now we have these little white flowers that are growing up a tree. I love this so much. And I'm going to get my number 4 again. I'm going to come over here with my water and I'm going to thin this out a whole lot. I'm going to have to put out my burnt sienna again just simply because the paint is drying. And this isn't, it's now like partially cured, everybody, which is a very thick, hard to flow paint. Pretty much at this stage, it's palette knife time only.
It has begun to cure.
It has begun to cure. So I'm going to keep loading this until I get a nice dark color. I feel I can flow off my brush. That's going to have good coverage. You can see, or I can just use fluid paint, seriously, like high flow, soft body, something like that. But right now I've got this. I'm going to load this on the tip there. And I'm going to just have a little vine. You know, you can give it leaves if you want, but mostly it's just wandering around your tree. In this sort of little loose way. See how it's doing?
Yeah.
And you just breathe. Now, I know you guys love all of those wonderful Pinterest forest fantastical mystic paintings. And of course, what you do in the privacy of your own home is your own business. So I hope, because you guys asked me a lot of questions about how they're painted, right? I hope this helps answer some of those.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to answer them over the next few months because I'm just loving doing these. I can't help it. That happened. Sometimes I just have to do whimsical things.
Sometime.
Sometimes. You can see this is kind of like a little calligraphy line that I'm getting to put out in the world. Once I have that, I'm going to rinse this out. So I have the dark line, but what I need now is the light. So I'm going to get my phthalo green and my cad yellow and a little of my white. And now I'm going to highlight some of my vines. Is that how we're doing?
Oh, yeah.
So it looks hard, but it's actually just about being relaxed, confident in the tools and materials that you're using. Knowing that cad yellow is way going to pop against Indian yellow, even if they're layered over each other.
That's all I got to do is just remember all that stuff.
Just remember all that stuff. Just it's a few things.
All right. I guess that's why I got to practice.
Practice, 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 practice.
It's hard.
And you
to
know what the
remember
good
all
news is? You get to practice art. Who doesn't want to do that? Right? And no, internet, you don't need to write me little notes on YouTube saying, I don't want to practice art.
that. If you
Why are
don't,
you watching an art channel then?
if you
What are you
don't want,
doing?
you can just go someplace else, and we will just assume that you have gone.
Yeah, just go like, watch a nail video. Well, no, all the nail video. I feel like the nail video artist people and the makeup artist people and the art people, we're kind of all synergistic.
Yeah.
We kind of all get each other's things. I don't know.
Someplace else.
You never know, man.
Just they can.
You
find
never know. If
somewhere
this
else.
isn't your deal, something on YouTube is go. You should do that.
There's lots out there to find.
There's a lot of good stuff out there. I don't know what it is. I can't make assumptions about you. I don't know you.
We don't know you.
Disgruntled stranger, I don't know you. So now I'm going to kind of light the center of this and create some mystical wonder. And that means I'm going to put out a little more zinc.
You're even polite to your disgruntled stranger.
I'm polite to my disgruntled strangers. I try.
I'm sorry I upset you, disgruntled stranger. Who doesn't yet exist and may not ever.
Oh, you.
we have faith in small things.
So I just took my zinc white and a little of my cad yellow. And if you notice, I'm going to just dash around a little bit of this very light color here in the center. Can you see this? This is, and it's got to be more zinc than cad or it'll get away from you real quick. Zinc will keep it soft. And what I'm doing is I'm just making sure that there's this element of wonder and light really, really happening here. Just get more zinc. Well, that's too much yellow. If that happens to you, just rinse out your brush and then you just come back before it dries. And then I'm going to come back with a little zinc. And look, it becomes part of the atmosphere. Don't ever panic if there's a little boo-boo on your canvas. Chances are, this is exactly what Bob Ross meant by happy accidents. You know what? You didn't make a mistake. They're birds. Now they're all birds now. No mistakes. Birds. Maybe some clouds, a stream. Your mistake is a stream. So just try to think about that in your paintings, like that whatever you have going on, there's an opportunity in your painting in every single boo-boo to do something kind of amazing. So don't miss those opportunities. Don't miss them. Be a part of those opportunities that are happening in your life, in your painting. Where others see mistakes, you see a chance to do something amazing. Unless it's like stick your head in a lion's mouth. That is totally a mistake. Please don't do that. I mean, just like creatively.
Yes, there's a few
Don't
things.
challenge apex predators. That is definitely a mistake.
Yeah, like swimming with sharks.
Don't know. As you know how I feel during Shark Week.
Yes, we've.
Shark cages are made out of bacon.
I think
Clearly,
shark.
because every shark comes that shark cage.
Yeah, I think so too. They
Yeah.
must they must grease them up with bacon grease right before they dip them in the water.
I'm feeling this is a thing, right? So I'm going to put out a little of my titanium white. I'm going to keep my number 2. I've got my yellow. I've still got some good Indian yellow, and I've got some good zinc. And it's really going to be about these 3 things. So first, I'm going to get my number 2 Cambridge. It's all clean now, and I'm going to just get my zinc. And I'm going to begin to make little light circles. Can you see how I'm circling? They need to be different sizes and values. Because what you're trying to say is that there's a row of little magical beings that are traveling here this direction. I did an ATC that was like this, that was very, very popular. And I'm saying, how did you get those woods and all of that? So this is this basis of that. Being able to create these little mist effects and these little fairy light effects, that's important for artists because we're imaginative people and we don't want to not participate in what makes our imagination incredible. You can see I've made several different sizes, and now I'm going to get a little, just a little. Actually, I'm going to get in my Indian yellow. I think I'll go Indian first. So I'm going to get the Indian yellow in there and a little of my, just such a kiss of my titanium white. And some of these, I'm going to start to light up. So rinse out, that's a little bright. It's okay though because I'm meant to build it up. So don't panic, you just wash off, reload, and keep going because these things build up on each other, see? There we go. Distant ones, got different sizes of them. There's this one right here that's just really happening. So when I have that first run in, I'm going to come in with my just, wipe off my brush, have as little pigment as possible, and get just my white on it. I'm just making the little glows. And this is about my brush being such a little wonderful scumbly brush with these little crazy bristles that lets me do this. Just enjoying my And notice I'm not going after every one because some are so far away that they're just a distant little glow in the mist, aren't they? There we go. I'm getting there. Let's look at it. It's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to get just the smidgiest smidge of the pink. Maybe I'll get the zinc again. You can add a cast of another color into any fairy light. I could have done blue. I could have done purple. It gives them a little bit of personality. I don't do a lot. Look, these are just little kisses, aren't they? Little kisses. Gotta kiss the canvas. Kiss the canvas. Be nice to the canvas. Don't be mean to it. It's a good canvas. I love your canvas. Let's say we're just a couple. Rinse out. And you can come back with a little bit of white. We're just making these lights magic. Are they magic? So magic. And I feel like that one needs a little bit of yellow, so I'm going to get my Indian yellow. Just a bit.
These are like wisps.
These are wisps in the woods, guarding this magical forest. You know that the creatures here are worth protecting, right? All these magical little creatures going off into the distance. Now here's my little secret sauce.
Okay.
I'm going to get my dotting tool. This comes with my Galaxy and Splatter kit. I highly recommend it. I think there are other ways to do this technique, but those 3 tools are four tools are super helpful because there's also a detail brush in there. I'm going to take my little bit of and dot these little sort of magic sparkles.
You have a lot of dot control with that.
That's what it is I have some dot control. Sometimes the other ways that we dot don't give us a lot of control, you know, or splatter doesn't give us a lot of control. And one of the things that I feel is really important as an artist is that we get control over things like our splatter and our dotting. See, I can break this out, and so that there's a little bit of variance in my little dot trail. Like what I do there, see how I'm going over the dots?
Yeah.
And I'm breaking it up like magic sparkle dust. See how now it's magic sparkle dust?
Magic sparkle dust. I like that.
Magic sparkle dust.
You're really getting close to the end of this.
No, we're like done. As soon as these dots are done, we did it.
Wow.
We like help cure illnesses. We painted magic forests.
Yeah. $2,372 today.
What?
I know. So thank you, everybody. We love you, love you, love you so much for helping us do this, being part of our community. Wonderful. Thank you.
Now, next weekend, we have some very special stuff coming up. Okay?
Okay.
And so we've got one that's very kid-friendly and really, honestly, like going to be good for Mother's Day. So it's a good one to have. I'm sorry, I'm just getting a little excited with my little sparkle.
That's okay.
So, can you see how the little sparkle trail is like carrying the fairy lights up? These are like wonderful things that you can do. This is how you paint a magical forest. Let me show you how to sign it.
You sign it.
Sign your magical forest now. So I'm going to take
Put the maker's mark.
my maker's mark on there. I'm going to take I'm going to take my #1 round. I'm going to get it wet. I'm going to grab a little of my phthalo blue on it and get into my fluid paint so that I have a nice line. I think I'll come to the end here. And just make a nice little signature. I always try to think about how the signature will impact the composition. I don't want to pull away from the work I did or any of the stuff I had going on. So, you know, be sure you're thinking about that. It doesn't really matter how you sign it as long as you, the artist, feel okay about it. You've made the right decision. Thank you for helping us make the world a better place. Cannot wait to see you again next week for all the things. Monday on Facebook, on the business page, fan page, whatever they call those things, because now there's groups and pages and personal pages. That first one, John and I are going to be doing a very interesting, weird live cast game, Paint.
Mm-hmm.
Also for St. Jude. Got to be really cool. If you're into the World of Warcraft, time to get with us and join the Sherpa Guild because some crazy stuff is going to be happening. I'm going to be painting. John's going to be gaming. Who knows what we're going to say. But here's what I do know. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. I want to see you at the easel really soon. Bye-bye.